Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick. This is Dave.
And now, on with the show. We are coming to you from Free Comic Book Day Eve, sort of.
That's right.
It's the podcast equivalent.
Right, and in our culture, we like to begin celebrating early.
We celebrate the whole week.
We celebrate the whole week, yeah.
We only give away free comics on one day, but the whole week is Free Comic Book Day week.
Well, right. Well, people can't see here, but we've ignited the shrine.
Right, we're all wearing the robes.
We're wearing the robes.
And swinging the scepters.
Right, Nick,
so to speak.
Nick bears the FCBD crown.
Duck.
Yes. Yeah. We're what's the thing you put the holy water in and shake it at people?
Right. It's that.
We got
thing.
one of those, but it's Kool-Aid in there because we're not holy.
Right.
We're not the Pope.
The unholy day begins soon.
Anyway, Free Comic Book Day is in fact coming up this Saturday. I dug through all our boxes and got the 41 different comics that are on offer.
Yep.
There are 3 or 4 from Marvel, 3 or 4 from DC, some indie ones. There's a preview of IDW's new Dark line, which is their horror line, which includes a preview of the sequel to Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, which is my favorite comic from last year. I think it might be ranking near that for both of y'all.
It's easily in the top 3.
Oh, I see. The top 3.
I'm not willing to say best.
The top 3 is quite a commitment.
Yeah.
So
Nick, where do you stand on this?
It's in my top 10.
Oh, top 10.
Nick's like, it's crap.
Crap, but
basically crap.
I can't say it's the best.
Name one thing better. You can't.
Energon Universe.
No, you can't. No, it's not.
Transformers.
Nope, wrong.
But yeah, so
a little serial killer bear would easily kill Optimus Prime.
But if you're like Nick and you hate murderous bears but love Transformers, there's something for you as well, because the Energon Universe has a pretty big... Last year they had a really big one-shot that spurred a lot a big deal.
Every single thing in last year's one, every single of the 3 stories had some notable reveal. And I don't know if this one is quite that big, but it's pretty big.
It's got some big stuff.
Well, it directly follows the latest issue of G.I. Joe, which had a kind of a... It ended the first arc, but also had kind of a little cliffhanger, or what's that about ending? Well, it's right. It will be answered this Saturday.
It's true.
So yeah, come on out. If you don't come out for Free Comic Day, we know you hate us because it's us and there's free comics.
And people know the basics, right? We've been doing this for decades at this point.
Yes.
And but it's our big sampler day. It'll be running all day. Best selection if you come earlier. You have a little bit of lines.
You come out, you get in the line, you talk to people. It's all part of the experience.
Right.
If you can do that,
you will be energized with the power of sheer comics,
and you have a much better chance of getting the full selection because in the first 20 minutes, something will go. There's a handful of things that are there's only a handful of them that will go. The first couple hours, a couple things will go. If you show up at 3, we will still have comics, but we will not have the full selection.
Right. But we'll have a lot of the big stuff.
Maybe. We'll see.
And if you're one of the first 30 people in line, you'll get a special surprise.
30? We're going 30.
Yeah, I think I've got it in me.
Okay.
Do we want to say what it is?
No, it's a special surprise.
It's a special surprise.
Nick's going to punch him.
It's not that kind of surprise. But yeah, so come out early, and if you can't come out early, come out later.
We thinking we're probably going to do something in the neighborhood of 10 per person?
Maybe we don't really know. We got to look and see what we got this year.
Yeah.
5 to 10 per person is usually what we do.
Okay.
What we usually do is even if we start 5, we'll be hey, if you come back at 3, you can come get another round.
Right.
We just want to make sure everybody, especially kids, get their shot at free comics. Yeah. And as always, a reminder that Gail Simone likes to throw out, that I'll throw out too. We do buy these comics to give away. It is a marketing expense for us, but the comic companies are not giving this out of the kindness of their heart. We are giving them to you out of the kindness of our heart.
Right. So if you should see fit to spend a few bucks that day, maybe pick up that graphic novel that's had your eye or whatever. It's a great day to do it, and really helps us out. It's one of our big days of the year.
Also, Jeanette is going to be, I believe, dressing up as Rogue.
Yeah, I think the X-Men 97 style.
She's been playing this for a little while, so if that comes together, I don't know if the rest of us are cosplaying. Serena usually wears a squirrel girl or something, and we'll see if she does that. I decided I did not want to even cosplay for the entire 12 hours I'm on.
No. But you will be wearing a comic-themed shirt.
I'll be wearing a comic-themed shirt, which brings me to the next bit of announcements. Very nice. Nice transition, Nick.
I try.
Now you've made it too much of a thing. I don't want to hear it. It's too big.
We are now carrying Roosevelt's, which is RSVLTS shirts.
Yep.
These are the shirts you've seen me. I've been wearing nothing but Roosevelt's for about a couple of years now.
If you've been in the store, you've seen them.
And if you've Googled them once, you've been targeted by their ads.
They are relentless.
They're relentless.
These guys have a lot of big licenses, but among them are comic book and sci-fi licenses.
Yep.
And we just became a retailer for them. So they're about $70 a piece. They're not cheap. But I will say I've had some of these shirts for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
And they get washed regularly, they don't get ironed, and they're in great shape.
Yeah.
And what's material on that?
I forget what it's called.
It's like a really good material.
It's very comfy.
And
It's lightweight.
Basically, they all have these really, really cool prints that they come up with these pop cultural characters. And it's kind of like a leap forward past the kind of sometimes hastily designed prints of old is that I would say we've seen on shirts before.
They're kind of buttoned down Hawaiian shirts a little bit.
Yeah.
So we've
dressy
got
shirts.
We've got dressy shirts. They have a collar.
Yeah.
There are some people can wear them to work. They have patterns you can wear to work and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, we got 6 shirts styles to try it out in multiple sizes.
Yep.
So we got a one-piece shirt.
Yep.
We got a shirt with various Captain America shields. Mm-hmm. We got an X-Men collage that's got like little pictures of all various X-Men from X-Men 97.
Yep.
We got the X-Men heads, which is little X-Men heads on a blue shirt. Yeah. This is one that I have that I really like.
Yeah,
I like
really
the
cool.
X-Focus. They're the best.
We got a shirt from Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man in the previous cartoon.
Yep.
It's got a little all the characters on that.
You have that one?
I have that one. And then we got the Alien shirt, which is a nice black shirt with like alien eggs, and every so often one of them has the green, like
it's
a glow.
It's a great pattern.
It is. It's very cool. It's very like low key kind of.
Right. If you kind of it's like some of these are very like pop and with their features, and some of them are kind of like the more subtle chill versions.
But yeah, if you want to try out Roosevelt's without having to pay their shipping fees,
right?
You want to see what they look like, a feel the material. We now have them, and if they start selling, we will definitely carry more.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's talk about games. There was sort of a big game release this Friday. Great Western Trail El Paso. Great Western Trail is a game that's had like 3 versions. This 4th one is a different set of rules, and it is a cattle drive game, and it's a simpler one. The other ones are sort of bigger piece-moving games. This one is more of like you go around a circle claiming spots. It's a little quicker play, and it's about cattle driving and cattle rustling.
Okay, that sounds good.
Looks super fun.
I do like to rustle it.
It came with a limited edition piece that we'll have until it sells out. We got Critter Kitchen, which is from the artist that did Flamecraft.
Oh.
And I don't think the same designer. It might be. But it's basically a game where you're running a kitchen.
Run by critters.
And there's an expansion.
And by critters, are we talking like little outdoor critters like raccoons and stuff?
Yeah, raccoons, possums.
It's very cute and homey.
Nice.
No dragons.
There's an expansion for it that we also have that I believe puts it up to 6 players.
Yep.
We got the Marvel Multiverse starter set for the RPG. This comes with a Planet Hulk themed adventure, pre-gen characters, little tokens with art on them, dice.
This is the good sampler if you had any interest but you don't want to buy the big hardcover. That is kind of the entry point. This has everything you need to sort of run an adventure with some set characters, and they're good ones. They're like Wolverine, Storm, some notable people.
Yep.
We also got
2D minis, little packs of 2D minis they're like acrylic standees with full color. So if you want some like minis for your game.
And there was some new dice pack, right?
And there was a new X-Men dice pack.
X-Men dice pack, right.
We also got the next edition of Backstories, which is like that cooperative game that I talked about. It's almost like a point-and-click game. Yeah. But in card form. The new one is called the Emerald Wedding Anniversary, and I believe it's sort of spy-themed.
Yeah, it is.
I played the last one, which is sort of like you went to the Arctic looking for your brother and got involved with like murders. And it was a fun play. There's a new Zombicide expansion called Paris, which is Paris with a Z because zombies.
Right.
There's a game called Potions of Azurland, which is another Lucky Duck game. Guys who make Flamecraft.
Yep.
We got Tokaido back in, the new version of Tokaido, which is made by Stone Meyer, who do Wingspan and Wormspan and Apiary and all those games.
For a little while.
It's been out for a while. The new version is $30, which I believe is cheaper than it was previously.
That's like the best price point for a board game.
And the best price anyone's going to have until these tariffs come down. So
it's true.
Everything's going to be more expensive starting right now. So It's a great, super chill game where you're like taking a tour of Japan. You're getting cards to make little panoramas. You're buying souvenirs. You're eating food at different stops, and you get points for all that. And you're competing with other players for the best journey, but also you're trying to have a fun trip.
Yeah. Is Stonemaier one of the best publishers right now?
They're a really good publisher. It seems
like every game that they put out is like a hit in some way.
It is, and also every game I've played from them has been really good. I've played Wingspan, Wormspan, Apiary, little known Libertalia, which is a very different sort of card game they did.
Root?
No, Root's not them.
Oh, Root's not them?
No.
Oh, I thought that was. Okay.
Nick, that had the cadence of the Hot Tub Time Machine, Die Hard. No, that's not one of them. I like Stonemaier a lot. They do good games. We got a Tidal Blades RPG. This is a board game. Tidal Blades is like their Yu-Gi-Oh game in that world, and the game is like you playing that game.
What?
But it's also like living in there's like a festival. It's this weird like
some Inception.
It's very strange, but there's an RPG based on it. It has really nice art. I believe it's sort of like island fantasy kind of thing.
So I would be trapped in the game if I played this.
I think that's correct. Yes,
Jumanji
like as in Jumanji or Die. Yes.
So I would be free from this world.
I'm afraid not.
No.
Yeah, you still got to come back.
No, I want to be stuck in the Inception fantasy island world.
Well, if your brain was there, but if your body was here, that'd be okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You can kick it, whatever. I don't care.
Gonna kick it.
What is this game called, though?
It is called Tidal Blades.
Tidal Blades. Okay, I want to take a look at that. That sounds
There's
interesting.
also a game from Monty Cook using his Cypher system called Diamond Throne. This is sort of a big deluxe game that is one of his big high concepts. It's a land that was formerly ruled by giants.
Okay.
And you are I guess investigating this like fallen world.
Okay.
But looks interesting. There's also a book series. I don't know if this is based on that book series. It might be, because there's a series called The Diamond Throne by someone.
Fancy.
David Eddings.
Okay.
So this may be tied into that. I'm not sure. I haven't looked deeply enough to see if it's the same.
All right.
But anyway, new Monty Cook, big epic game. We got a game called Old Margreave, which is actually, I believe, a character in the Kobold world.
Okay.
So it's a D&D 5e source book. And then we got a new version of the game called Santorini, which is like a little civilization building game that has had like 3 or 4 iterations.
Sorry, there's a D&D release?
No. Old Margreave is a Kobold.
Yeah,
Kobold
like
Press?
Edition,
Kobold Press.
Oh, okay.
Compatible thing.
I did that thing where I was like, I thought you were talking about kobolds.
Dave, I'm never talking about kobolds. I'm talking about Kobold
part of
Press.
that.
Sure.
It's part of that deadline, the Midgard ones?
Yes, Midgard, that's it.
Yep.
It's an ancient magical forest
Okay.
with monsters and new spells and magic items and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's talk about comics for the week. It is a pretty big week.
Yeah.
It is.
We got Kid Juggernaut #1. I feel like this might have been a digital comic first.
It was. I saw that somewhere when
Okay.
I was looking at it.
This is a new character. He is not
They said he'd
related.
been in like Avengers Academy.
Right. He's not related to Juggernaut, right? He just has the stone.
It has the stone, yeah. Like there's some sort of backstory.
Yeah.
He's like an 18-year-old Korean kid who's like a baker, and his dad disappeared or was estranged from the family, but mailed him the gems somehow.
Huh.
And so there's a kind of a mystery as to like how is this like a family lineage? Is there some secret backstory? And why did his dad send it to him and all that? But yeah, he ends up with like Juggernaut type powers, and I think eventually it's not just a standalone, is it? It's a miniseries.
No, this is a miniseries. This is a standalone, but he's going to show up again in the Avengers Academy, which is also a online book that'll come to print.
Okay.
And he's in New Champions.
Cool. And so this character's probably going to end up in Marvel Snap.
He's going to
or
wind up from Rivals or something like that. Yeah,
so
he'll get a hold on
If you want to get a handle on him now, this is your shot.
We have Wolverine and Kitty Pryde #1. This is a Chris Claremont book. It's a throwback to a miniseries he wrote 30, 40 years ago.
The early 80s, so yeah.
Where Kitty Pryde is targeted by the psychic assassin Ogun, who is a former teacher of Wolverine, and he basically controls her, gives her ninja training, and is trying to use her body as his essence or whatever.
Right.
Wolverine frees her, and now this is like what happened afterward.
Yeah. Didn't she retained her ninja skills?
She retained her ninja skills, but not her demon master.
Right. That's really the ideal way to go about it.
Yeah. if someone could possess me and teach me how to woodwork,
Yes.
it could be a demon assassin.
Right.
I can be that for a little while.
Ogun is probably looking for work.
Yeah. You think Ogun can teach me woodworking or like gardening?
Yeah, he's probably got some skill set that you don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, ninja training's cool and all, but I'd really like to be able to make desks.
You learn some Ogun needlepoint?
Ogun needlepoint, yes.
Yes.
And then Wolverine kills him out of my body.
He kills him out of your body. But
and I still don't have a needlepoint.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, as a teaching method, we endorse it. How is it as a comic? It's pretty good. It's sort of classic Claremont stuff. If you've read his sort of throwback stuff, you know the vibe he's going for. And Wolverine and Kitty Pryde are a good pairing. The third Godzilla versus Marvel one-shot is this week.
Oh, I meant to read that because I'm not going to say what the deal is, but Spider-Man is on the cover. It looks like it's kind of in the 80s era. It's like when he got the black costume, but it wasn't Venom.
It is during the period when he has the black costume. He doesn't know it's Venom. He just knows it like can change into his street clothes and doesn't run out of webbing. They did some fun stuff here he's currently with Felicia Hardy. And he runs into Mary Jane, and Felicia and Mary Jane immediately hate each other.
Yep.
And so some fun stuff with that.
You know, that's a point where you might be glad to have a Godzilla attack.
Yeah, and he was.
Yeah.
He does. He literally runs off. He's like, I gotta go fight this Godzilla.
That's a pretty classic Peter Parker moment. Yeah. They've been having fun with these.
It is fun, and it's got really nice art by Nick Bradshaw.
Yep.
It's another fun one. Interesting, they make a nod toward... He mentions in here, I think, the Godzilla versus the Hulk, maybe?
Oh, that's
so it maybe is supposed to be the same world.
Okay.
But, yeah. There's also, for those liking Godzilla versus America, the second issue of that. These are a series of one-shots just like the Godzilla versus Spider-Man. Godzilla has commitment issues.
I feel you, Godzilla.
And this is Godzilla taking on Los Angeles in like 4 different stories.
Are we going to get Godzilla versus like Texas or something like that?
I'd like to see that.
I mean, aside from he could probably find some good targets.
Yeah.
But also, I want to see Godzilla in a cowboy hat. Because that's what's going to happen. He gets to Texas, he gets a cowboy hat.
That's true.
Godzilla versus Dallas.
We have a couple annuals. The Batman Superman World's Finest Annual, which is part 3 of the crossover with Justice League.
Yep.
Oh, I need to read that.
Gorilla Grodd goes back in time to find his allies when they were all still villains at the top of their powers, and he's going to bring them forward to defeat the Justice League. This was a fun... This all takes place in the past, and it's basically Grodd trying to convince them of his veracity, and it has the throwdown between the Justice League of the past and the Injustice League of the past. It's fun.
Has Gorilla Grodd ever said, make your peace with Grodd?
He has not.
If not, think about it.
I'm sure Jeff Johns did it something.
He probably did.
Probably did. We've got the Detective Comics Annual, which I believe has a couple stories.
It does.
Al Ewing writes, Stefano Raphael, John McCrae, and Fico Ossio do the art. Really nice artwork in this one.
Al Ewing, has he been working on Batman stuff at all lately?
Nope, not that I know of.
Okay, that's interesting. I might have to check that out. I like me some Al Ewing.
And then there's a story by Joshua Hill Filkov with Mike Norton on art that is called Batman and David Rosales' 7th Grader, which has him teaming up with a 7th grader. That's Robin age, you know. This kid better be careful. He's gonna. You want this costume? You want to stand in front of
Batman talked to him for like 5 seconds, and the Joker's going to be coming around behind a corner.
It's like, listen, I need a new Robin. My last one. Don't worry about it. We got a Power Company Recharge. This is a one-shot. They did a Power Company like, not Voices, that's the Marvel thing. It's like DC's, I don't know, Black History Month thing that they did.
Yeah. This was the original Power Company was a DC thing in the 90s?
Or early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Kurt Busiek did it after coming off Thunderbolts.
Yep. And how would you describe him, Randy?
It was a corporate superheroes.
Yep.
So what they're doing in this time is Josiah Power, who's the character from Power Company, he's the only holdover from the previous book.
Am I correct? He's a lawyer who got powers, and he's like,
yes.
I'm not really a...
he's like, I'm not a punchy guy, I just wear a suit.
Yeah. But he's got cool facial hair, right?
Yes.
Doesn't he have like the incredible mutton chops?
So he's basically trying to put together a team to help Atlanta, because Atlanta doesn't have a superhero team. And he tries to recruit Black Lightning, the Signal, Vixen, and the Black Batman, who I don't remember who that character is. Luke Fox?
Yes.
The guy who was in Batman Second Son.
Of Lucius.
Yeah. And there's sort of a push and pull about whether or not Batman's very much doing his works alone thing. But they're trying to get him to join the team.
Okay.
If that continues, I'm sure that they'll launch a series out. This is sort of a proof of concept kind of thing.
Maybe if they offer some good benefits, Batman might be interested.
Like dental?
Yeah.
Or like good, like a vacation or like a timeshare?
He can't easily afford these things otherwise.
Right. Yep. We got the second print of DC versus Sonic the Hedgehog. People have been anxious to get the first issue of this.
Yep.
And we
still have the second issue in, so
issues 1 and 2.
If you come in tomorrow or today, when you hear this, you can get both of them if you want.
There's a new Image book, a one-shot called Lost Fantasy. Dave, you said you this was kind of a...
It's like a secret history, world of monster hunters, like that's been going on, kind of beneath our view. Kind of, I guess in that sense, a little like something is killing the children.
Yeah.
But I think this...
A little more superhero-y.
A little more superhero-y, yeah. They've still got some edge. They're dropping the F-bomb in here.
People get their heads blown off.
I hadn't realized this was indeed a one-shot. I wonder, is it part of like a bigger project?
I think it's just a one-shot.
Okay.
Speaking of one-shots, although I guess this is actually a prelude to something, Bad Idea Comics is releasing through all comic stores, supposed to just a handful. Their first release for us is Planet Death, #0. This is a $1 comic. It's on
$1.99.
Is it $1.99?
Yeah, it's on the bag.
Oh, okay.
Bad market.
It's $1.99. And it's on old style newsprint paper.
Yep.
They bought out the whole supply of it.
That's some very nice artwork.
Yep. It's like Space Marines versus Aliens.
It reminds me a little of Travis Charest.
Yeah.
When he got real detailed.
Yeah. Very pretty.
I think the big thing is that it's written or conceived by the guy who did John Wick. And it's it's got elements of kind of your Starship Troopers or Space Marines kind of thing. It's it is like a big old action kind of thing.
Yep. We got the final of 5 Silent Missions one-shots for G.I. Joe with Duke.
Yep.
And then we've got Image Firsts. These are $1.
Yep.
They are the first issues of Astro City, Gunslinger Spawn, and Lady Mechanika, so you can get a sampling of these books.
Yep. Dollar comics, can't beat it.
Yep. And then there's some other single issues that were not new. There were big second issues this week. Second issue of We're Taking Everything Down With Us, which I think Nick and I both describe as it's kind of like a Bondian villain, super villain.
Yeah.
It's about his daughter as a spy team invades the island, and she's realizing that what and who she is.
Yep. It's got some fun action.
Yeah.
Some silly characters akin to oh god, what was that? Venture Brothers.
Yeah, Venture Brothers a little bit, yeah. But a darker Venture Brothers.
A darker Venture Brothers.
Second issue of Bitter Root, The Next Movement. Was it David Walker and Sanford Green's historical black monster hunters, but now in the 60s. Second issue of You'll Do Bad Things, the sort of serial killer comic.
Yep.
First issue second print also comes out this week.
First one sold really well.
A bunch of Warm World Under Doom this week. Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts Doomstrike, Red Hulk, Doom Division, and Doom Academy. And then the stuff that I read, the Time Variance Authority #5 concludes that story. Mm-hmm. And there's another big turning point in Ultimate Spider-Man #16.
Yeah, doing stuff that we've never seen in a Spider-Man comic.
It's true. What else did y'all...
I only had 2 more to add.
Yep.
There's a new issue of Void Rivals, the Robert Kirkman sci-fi Enemy Mine type story.
But that's tied into
the Energon universe.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. Big things are happening.
Let me ask, what's the... starting even in the first issue, there was a Transformers elements that were working their way in.
Oh yeah, we're full on.
It had Jetfire in the first one. And I know it's been getting bigger and bigger. What is the Transformers quotient in this latest issue?
There are 2 main Transformers on one of their planets.
And one, I won't ask you to reveal them, but are they Transformers that are in the main book, or is it kind of like ones you wouldn't otherwise see?
No, ones we haven't seen in the main book.
See, I think that's one of the cool reasons to read Void Rivals.
That is true, yeah.
You're going to see some off-the-beaten-path Transformers. Because, everybody's like, you know what the deal is with Optimus?
And then there's
a truck, right?
He's a truck, he's courageous.
And then there's big Quintesson stuff happening within the book.
Yeah, they are the recurring kind of threats, really.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? They used to do that like in the cartoon they would do stuff where they'd show, or in the comics too, they would like stuff was going on in Cybertron, stuff was going on Earth. It was like different stories, and that kind of feels like Void Rivals is like what's going on out in space with Transformers.
100%.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
And then the other book I had is the 4th issue of Rick Remender and Paul Zaceta's The Seasons, which continues to be entertaining.
The Adventuresome Sisters, right?
Yep, and how they're colliding with a circus of doom.
Yeah, meant to have certain overtones of Miyazaki's kind of style.
Yeah, I'd say a little darker, but definitely.
But he's got darker stuff too.
He does.
Prince Mononoke.
Yes, that's true.
Step off.
Not everything is Kiki's delivery service.
That's right. But there is a little Kiki's delivery service to it.
A little bit. It's getting less and less.
Oh, yeah? The first issue was like all Kiki.
The first issue was
just somebody riding around on a bike and having a chase.
Feels like we're going down a staircase and it's getting darker by the minute.
That does sound like Rick Remender. He's just giving us a classic Rick reminder.
It's true.
The only thing that the other one that hasn't been mentioned is I'm still enjoying the Patchwork Girl of Oz, the Oz adaptations that Image is doing. Clearly a kind of spiritual follow-up to the Marvel Oz stuff that Scotty Young had been doing. And then I will mention as maybe lead into graphic novel discussion. Craig Thompson, who famously 20 years ago or whatever, did Blankets, a totally acclaimed autobiographical comic about him, kind of his younger days and falling out of faith, having grown up in a family that was very religious and all that. Returns to that format with this very beautiful hardcover called Ginseng Roots. That as a kid he was like, I can only say kind of child labored into pulling for 10 hours a day all summer long, doing kind of backbreaking work in fields where they cultivated in where was it?
Wisconsin?
I think so. Wisconsin, where they cultivated ginseng that was shipped worldwide.
Ginseng for Jesus.
Yes, but I think it was the kind of his religious-minded parents kind of forced him into it, but there's so many interesting little... I've only read maybe a fifth of this because it is a big graphic novel.
He only does big giant books.
It's true. It's true, and it's of course beautifully drawn. He draws the whole thing too. But
for the record, Blankets was 2003.
Okay,
is this the first
about 20 years
22
ago?
years, yeah.
This is the first book he's done since then?
No, well, he did Habibi, which was a little bit lesser known.
Yep.
And then he did Carnet de Voyage, which was his travel journal through France, which I really like, actually. Now I'm curious to see what Habibi was.
Just to tell a few interesting things that I encountered in reading through this. One is he talks about his bond with his brother when they were out there in the fields doing it, because that was the year they discovered comics, too, when they were 10 or 12 or something like that. And although they were making $1 an hour, which to them was basically a comic an hour is how they envisioned it. And now, of course, they're their parents were putting some of those into a savings fund, and then they had to tithe some of it to the church. But they were able to pick out a few comics each week and stuff, and that was a big thing. And then he also jumps forward into the present. There's a lot of really interesting stuff with his family here. Just amazing art. And in the present, where he's become a successful but sometimes struggling comic artist, he clearly has these big self-doubts. And he's I guess maybe, I don't know if it was Carnet de Voyage or whatever, but he talks about a project that didn't really get a lot of acclaim, and so he was kind of his self-esteem immediately wrecks him, even though he had one of the most acclaimed graphic novels of all time.
I think Habibi wasn't a super huge follow-up either.
That was probably it.
Yeah.
But he's where I'm at. He's talking about how in his present time he developed this sort of neurological condition in his hands that was degenerative. And he goes to see this doctor, and they're like, oh, yeah, you'll eventually kind of lose all use of your hands. And he's like, oh, my God. He's like, should I stop drawing? And they're like, oh, it's going to happen whether you draw or not. So if you enjoy drawing, you should go ahead and do that while you can. I have no idea how this turns out, by the way, if this is his last graphic novel or if they found some way to treat this. But that's going on. And he also has this interesting thing where, because he did this backbreaking work as a kid and his parents kind of instilled in him this notion of these kind of very blue-collar rural work ethic, he's still sometimes, it clashes with his kind of, I'm an elite comic artist these days, and he's like, I'm not doing real work. he's still like after all these decades, still beats himself up over like feeling like he hasn't really been doing what a full day's work.
Parents and their love of child labor.
Man, the way it sticks, yeah. But there's funny stuff along the way, and like the dude's art is just crazy good. So it's easily my pick of the week.
Mine too.
I'm looking forward to continuing to dive into it.
Also, big release this week: the Transformers Volume 1 Deluxe Hardcover.
Yep.
Which is the first 12 issues of Transformers.
It is.
And it looks really nice. I picked a copy of this up. I'm looking forward to diving in and reading. I haven't seen what extras are in it yet, but it's one of these oversized hardcovers from Image. They're always great.
Yep. I can see, double dipping if you've already picked up the single issues or maybe even the trades. But like if you haven't, this would be a great addition to get just because you're going to get the oversized thing. You're going to probably get like some very cool bonus material. And the series has proved itself at this point. You get the first, 12 issues?
Mm-hmm.
Which, we know is a very satisfying read. It's like the big opening Transformer epic.
We got Amazing Spider-Man Modern Era Epic Collection coming home, which is the first 15 issues of J. Michael Straczynski's run, which gave Peter Parker a new job as a science teacher, introduced Ezekiel and Morlun, which led into Spider-Verse.
Yep.
It also has the 9/11 issue they did.
Yep.
And it has the big thing where Peter and Aunt May talk about, she finds out that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of notable stuff, yeah.
I feel like it's some of the peak, probably John Romita Jr. art.
Agreed.
And, while I didn't love every single decision that JMS took, he had a good handle on Peter overall, and it was never less than interesting. It's a good one.
It opened really strong.
Teacher. I thought that was
it was a great idea.
It was a really good idea.
Peter Parker as teacher, I mean, like, listen, we know that basically Peter was born to struggle, and what job has there ever been that was more about that than teaching?
Right.
Jesus.
We also got the latest volume of Saga, Volume 12.
Yep.
And a couple things reprinted from Marvel, timely for the new Marvel Fantastic Four movie coming out. They reprinted Earth X, which is the alternate future, sort of dark tale that Alex Ross co-wrote with Jim Kruger.
That's right, Jim Kruger.
And has art by John Paul Leon.
Yep.
And introduced the female Silver Surfer Shala Bal,
yep,
who we will see a version of in the movie.
Yep.
And then a Human Torch miniseries by Scotty Young, early Scotty Young stuff.
Written by Carl Kiesel, but drawn by Scotty Young. And it was the same era that Marvel created the Runaways, and that they were kind of trying to capture a little bit of the energy, the kind of teen energy that was going on in manga. So I think they wanted to, take this artist who, before Scotty Young did his little chibi Calvin and Hobbes type style, he had a style that I feel was kind of like a little manga, a little almost graffiti artish.
Yeah, yeah.
And, he was having some fun doing a very youthful Johnny Storm, having solo adventures.
Was this part of was it Tsunami?
Tsunami line,
was,
yep.
Yes.
Yep. Which also had, there was a Namor book that also focused on him. Yeah, Runaways was the big one.
Sentinel, yes.
Yeah, some solid books in there.
It's kind of a shame those aren't in print.
Gravity.
Yeah. Gravity, yep.
I like
Gravity's
Gravity
a completely forgotten character.
Yeah, who did that one?
Mike Norton.
Yeah, Mike Norton.
Yeah.
And was it Tim Seeley or was it just Mike Norton?
No, it was another writer.
It was another writer. Okay.
But I can't remember. It was Mike Norton on art.
Yeah, on art.
But
it was a good book, and I liked that character.
Was it McKeever?
Might have been McKeever.
I think it was McKeever.
Anyway, this is a fun bit of lost Marvel history with some good creators on it.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about some other stuff. All right, so we're going to start with a spoiler warning for Andor Season 2.
Yep.
We're going to discuss the first 3 episodes. We are going to spoil stuff, so don't listen to this part if you intend to watch Andor.
Yeah, and you should go watch Andor. It's the prequel to Rogue One, so to some degree, if you've seen Rogue One, you have a notion of how it might turn out.
I'm slowly whittling my wife down and trying to get her to watch the first season.
I feel like it's probably not going to register for her.
Yeah, she's not wanting to watch it. It's not going to land.
But it's like the least Star Wars show you can get.
Does she not like Star Wars?
She's okay on Star Wars.
I was going to say, I feel like it's the most interesting thing about it is what a counterpoint it is to regular Star Wars, or how it takes this normal Star Wars anti-fascist theme and looks at it like through such a fierce lens that it kind of turns it on its ear. But like, if you don't have the baseline sort of Star Wars love, I don't know if it would particularly register.
What's funny is that like we talked about this all season 1, and I was not the biggest fan of it.
Right.
I finally came around at the end. I liked the big finale.
Yep.
But I was like, a lot of this is kind of boring, and I can't quite place who the characters are.
Yep.
And then I rewatched season 1 in the lead up to season 2.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's because the anti-fascist stuff seems particularly pointed right now.
Yeah. For what reason?
Just seems in the air.
It's just something that must just be a trend.
Yeah.
Just like something like that's hip and kids are doing.
But I loved it from minute 1 this time. Like, I was like, oh, this is great. What did I ever not like about this? And it definitely isn't boring.
Right.
But
the way it's interesting is a different way than Star Wars is usually interesting.
Yeah, and I do think it's a fair comparison that Gilroy does not do a great, or whoever's doing it, does not do a great job of giving the characters names. Like, Dave, you were just saying you had to pull up a thing to remember who the characters are. Like, we know who the characters are, but I don't remember their names necessarily.
Yeah, I feel like there was some show I watched the other day. Ironically, I cannot remember it now. Maybe it was how when I was watching Severance, how the characters' names started to slot in very quickly.
Yeah,
it's also a focused show.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's a certain repetition of names that you kind of just work into dialogue that helps a bit. But anyway, so you warmed to it on second viewing,
quite a bit.
And that's a good setup for
Dave and I were addicted from moment 1.
Yes,
from moment 1. In fact, I need to go back and listen to that podcast that was covering it. Has to be covering it again.
I need to wait. I mean, I guess I could listen to their opening.
Do you think that they might be like speculative?
They may be and ahead of the curve on that.
They may be, or just guess at stuff I don't want to know.
Some people have watched the entire season.
That's true. I did see that,
and I'm like, I don't want spoilers on this one. I want to go in every Tuesday night.
Yep.
And watch my 3 episodes.
which that is the format. They're going to do 4 3-episode weeks? Is that right?
Last a month.
Yeah, and so you're going to basically get sort of about 2.5 hours of material each week.
And they tend to be like, the story will continue, but I felt like these 3 episodes were an arc.
They told a story. Yeah,
they told a story.
So the overall thing I think is interesting that Dave and I both had to some extent a sort of like a little bit disappointed at first. Because the vibe of season 2 was different.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And just real quick, just in case for some reason you haven't seen it, this has Cassian Andor, the kind of edgy hero from Rogue One, who, like, in its opening scene in Rogue One, like, killed an informant.
Kills one of his informants,
so that the dude couldn't potentially talk. Yeah. And so we know he's kind of a hard ass. But this, season 1 basically showed him going from a person who's just kind of like, he's just surviving,
just trying to live,
and that's his skill set. But he's caught the attention of a recruiter, Luthen Rawl, I think. Amazingly played by Stellan Skarsgård. Mm-hmm. And so that whole first season basically revolves around him being sort of pulled in reluctantly, not wanting to take any part in a rebellion. It's not a series that's about individual heroes. It's sort of about how rebellions coalesce. Yeah. And eventually he does kind of get there at the end. But again, it wasn't like I was destined for this. That's just not what this series is about. So here we are in season 2, and it's a year later.
Yep.
And it opens on a mission with a surprisingly kind of almost slapsticky.
It's almost goofy, yeah. So
because
it is.
I didn't read it as that.
Well,
the
first bit. So basically, he's posing as a TIE fighter pilot, and an Imperial has basically helped him get in. That Imperial is screwed, by the way.
She's defective.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm sure she did not survive.
Well, I don't know.
No, because the other person saw her. The other person saw her with him.
Yeah,
and she covered. Like, she's not gonna be able to play it off. It's like, oh, I didn't know. Like,
well, she did. He did tell her to run.
Yeah, that's true.
And we don't know. Maybe so.
Right. Tony Gilroy, I know, mentioned that he wanted to do this opening so that to kind of remind you of the stakes, because Andor's in it. But this is a person who's basically, this is their first act of rebellion. Yeah. And it could get them killed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that scene actually was played straight. He's kind of giving her the rebellion pep talk, which is something he would not have been able to do in the first season.
Right, yeah, he
was absolutely not that guy.
Yep.
It was a good speech.
It's a good speech. But when he gets in the TIE fighter, he kind of comically can't pilot this thing.
Well, he throws it in reverse, and it is staged like a Millennium Falcon wacky gag.
Right. Later, we will find out that there's this sort of serious thing. This shows how there's sort of intelligence breakdowns and
he was in the wrong ship.
In a rebellion, they trained him
on the wrong ship.
On the wrong ship. But otherwise, he does make it out with this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like a prototype TIE fighter that's, it looks like it's kind of got room for some troops in it. It's got some heavier weaponry than they usually do. It's pretty tough.
It's got a name, and I saw it.
Yeah, I don't remember the name
It's pretty
either.
badass shit.
Yeah.
It is. It's very cool looking.
And then we also kind of begin to see the ensemble cast unfold. So let's see, what are the big other things going on in
You
here?
have Bix and Brasso.
Right, these are his allies from the first season, some of whom lived in his home, the town.
And Andor's with them. He's just on a mission.
Right, but they've had to like set up sort of like under the guise of like sort of migrant workers on this planet.
They're traveling tech workers. They show up at these farms and they help out at these farms where they're not supposed to be. The Empire, they're illegal.
Right,
and the Empire might send in their ice stormtroopers, and if say there was a rat at the farm who sold them out to ICE, so they wanted to pay him, that kind of thing. ICE stormtroopers. If you told them about stormtroopers,
see. What's interesting though is I think people don't necessarily, if they don't want to see it, they don't see it.
God, how do you not?
How do you not? Right.
We also.
But they are they're essentially they're on this sort of rural planet, just trying to keep their heads below.
It looks like they've been there for a while. They've made friends.
Yeah.
One of them has found a girl that he likes to spend time with.
Yep.
He was the guy. Am I correct that dude is the son of the guy who ran the tech shop in the first season who got killed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This poor kid.
Then we have Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma.
The Mon Mothma stuff is so... It's like
Mon Mothma, who's mainly a well-off, and kind of middling liberal senator, I guess.
But behind the scenes, she is one of the instigators of the rebellion.
She's a key funder.
She's going to wind up the leader of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Right. But at the moment, she's a money person whose struggle in the first season was to keep the money covered.
I don't know why, but this part of the story is my favorite.
I really like it.
Well, part of it is she's killing it as an actress.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I think the political intrigue stuff on that side of things, because you're dealing with such...
Well, she had to work with she actually has an arranged marriage
like a
with her daughter
or something, right?
With like a mobster kind of guy, but like kind of... I hesitate to say, but kind of a classy mobster.
Yeah.
Who what he wants is the clout of moving up in society.
Yep.
And so that's interesting him. He doesn't really need money,
but it's like
but he can help launder it.
Her asshole of a husband, who is jabbing her at every possible moment.
Right. They have like a sort of failing marriage that's held together for convenience and wealth and power.
A daughter who is so stuck in the old ways that she wants this arranged marriage. And will kind of lash out at her mother.
That bit where Mon Mothma talks to her about like you don't have to do this.
Yeah, we can walk out there.
Slaps her down.
Yeah, I was brutal. Like, I wish.
I have to say this though, somewhat. I guess in mild defense of the daughter, Mon Mothma, if memory serves, in the first season is a little bit of an absent parent to her.
Yeah.
Because she's off doing rebellion stuff, which we know is important, she kind of sometimes fails in her duties as a parent, and so I'm sure the father is basically more of the influence on the daughter, and he's a traditionalist, and he's fine with the Empire and all this.
Yep.
But there's so many great scenes with her and her old friend.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
That guy.
Who's
basically the money launderer.
The money launderer. He who seemed like a really great guy in the first season. Like, what a good lucky find.
Yeah. And unfortunately in this second season...
Now we find that he's disgruntled, he's getting a divorce, and problems have arisen. He's got some money issues, and he would like a bigger payment to basically keep quiet about the whole thing.
I don't think Luthen is a big fan of that.
Yeah, so there's this party that they're at, and easily the most ruthless... maybe except for Saw Gerrera, the most ruthless rebel leader I've ever seen, is in the guise of an art dealer, which we saw in season 1.
Yep, that's his thing.
Is also at the party, and Luthen, he let an entire rebel cell get killed, just so that even though they knew about it in advance, they knew that if they warned them, it would ruin their inside man.
Yeah, he is the creator of the rebellion in a lot of ways. He is backdoor controlling it.
Right.
It's interesting. his stuff and his ability to turn on his bigger
He's charming.
He's got a boisterous
mantle.
personality as the art dealer, and he's just dour and grim as Luthen.
Yeah.
And so you'll see him literally turning it off and on, like somebody walks past and his face just falls.
And then sub-characters in that plot is Vel, who is...
Mothma's sister?
Yes,
right?
who is one of the rebels in the first season working with Andor.
They did a heist.
And her girlfriend seems to be the rebel assassin.
That scene with her
Cinta.
just sitting on the floor and just kind of after seeing her, I was heartbroken for her because it was just so poignant and sad.
Well, in a way, we see that both the heroes in the rebellion and the scumbags on the Empire, no one is really happy.
No.
And
which leads to
our final sort of
Dedra and Cyril.
A year from the previous arc, the guy who was an ambitious, essentially security guard in the first one has worked his way into the Imperial War. Actually, no, he's still at the same job.
he's a cog.
He was fired from that job. He got a job.
He got a new job and then found something that was very important, so he got promoted into a much higher position.
But he's still basically a worker cog.
He's still a worker cog.
Yeah, you literally see him in one of these, what would you call it, a massive...
cube farm.
Cube farm kind of thing. But he has romantically attached himself to Dedra, the ambitious...
ISB agent.
Yeah, who apparently has been tapped by Krennic, who...
to run the Death Star program, right?
from
Run the
Rogue One.
Death Star program,
Yeah.
yes. The scene, though, with Dedra, Cyril, and his mom, I literally...
Oh, man.
I
His
could
mom
not
is
look
the worst
away.
character. I am against selling people out to fascists.
Yes.
But if they were to somehow plant something on her and get her thrown in a jail cell, it would be the best thing anyone ever done to that character.
The only thing that
She's
could
so terrible.
give me any sympathy for Dedra was that her having to survive Cyril's mom.
Yeah.
So I can't quite figure out what they're going to do with those characters in the sense that she does not want to be on the Death Star.
No.
She was actively no, I don't want to do this. I want to do what I'm doing. I want to hunt down the rebellion.
Yeah.
Which, again, not great.
No.
But does that mean she understands the idea of the Death Star and what it means?
No, I think she just thinks it won't be on the front lines. She doesn't want to become an administrator. She wants to be out there in the field.
So it's just all about, Okay.
What you're seeing is the sort of her on the work side of things, the politics of the Empire, as they have a sort of a secret group within a group of what are these? These aren't even the highest ups. These are people who are some of the most capable Imperial.
Oh, in the secret meeting.
People in the secret
meeting.
meeting.
Krennic is definitely
Right. So then, just to say, we should say
Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Krennic, who was the head of the Death Star project in Rogue One.
He was the big villain.
The bad guy who I didn't know was going to be in this. Maybe they'd shown him in early trailers, but I'd forgotten.
I love Ben Mendelsohn.
He's great. He's super good. But yes, he has organized this secret group that is going to be working on that, and she's part of that.
Trying to basically destroy or destabilize an entire world. After their resources, because that's what they need to power the Death Star.
Right.
Yeah. You got to be a pretty scummy kind of leader to just sell out a whole nation or world just trying to get to their raw materials.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah. And also do, active smear campaigns.
What's funny is this was, of course, written a year or two ago, probably.
But I'm sure writing on the walls is pretty...
writing on the walls, fascist's gonna fascist, and Tony Gilroy, the creator of the show, knows what fascists do.
But then Dedra is you need rebels that you can count on doing the wrong thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What does she want to have happen?
She wants to arrange some rebels to do things
for them,
like they did on. I mean, she wants the payroll robbery.
Yeah,
because then they can crack down on them.
Does she not recognize that Luthen's side of things, that when they crack down, they foment sympathy?
I think maybe she doesn't. I think she and Luthen are working at the same goals for different reasons.
There is no crazy way that we're going to find out, because have we seen her behind the scenes that she's an agent of Luthen?
I don't think so, but that would be a great twist.
Man,
she's
I just
one of the
realized
coldest people, though. She actually tortured Bix into
she brought in a torturer.
Yeah.
No, she would be it would easily make her the cruelest rebel that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Beyond anything that Cassian has ever done, beyond anything Luthen has ever done. But I'm like, that idea did just
would be an
pop into
amazing
my
twist,
head because I don't think we've seen her by herself where you would see her like take her game face off the way we see with Luthen.
Right.
Probably not the case though.
The other thing, we haven't talked about Andor, because Andor is kind of sidelined for the first 3 episodes because he gets caught up in leftist infighting.
God.
Actually, it's not so much leftist. It is leftist infighting, but it's basically because the whole like rebel group that
it hasn't coalesced. There's splinters and factions.
They're idiots.
And these people that he's dealing with are dumb. And they basically turn on each other into 2 factions, and it becomes this battle on what would be like a single screen in a video game.
Yeah.
And they're fighting amongst themselves.
I know that Tony Gilroy likes to draw from history as inspiration, like real world history for this show.
Did we ever look?
I need to know that, like, did Che Guevara or something like have some group that he's like, oh my god, he's like, why did I ever work with these people? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it does.
I did not want to like that section. I thought it was at first I thought it was a little silly, but I was like,
it is a little goofy as the way it's played, but it turns dark at times.
It was dark, and I was like, oh, this is poignant. This is like the rebellion is not what we know it as. It's very,
but it is in parts. Like we know Saw is probably running a pretty slick operation.
Well, we know Saw is not like one of the rebellion per se. He does like guerrilla warfare tactics.
Right. But my point is, there's serious players in this. Luthen is a serious player. But off to the side, and yes, they're not organized, right? We know Mon Mothma will eventually, and other people will help. But
it also shows Andor is super capable. I mean, he escaped his captors.
He always keeps his cool.
He did. I ultimately thought he was going to shoot that one guy just automatically, but he let him live. I mean, not that any of these people stay alive since the beasts that were hunting them.
Yeah, he generally kills people who are evil, but not stupid.
Diego Luna is just great at what he does.
He's really good. He's still playing him as a guy who's like, I feel like he's become a pretty professional about what he does.
Well, he's like a mini
but he's
Luthen.
not. He is, but he's not the great leader that he is. But he's interesting because he's the kind of person you don't normally see in Star Wars. A lot of times in Star Wars, you see either like a scoundrel like Han Solo with a heart of gold, or a born hero sort of like Luke or Rey. And like he's this kind of person who's somewhere in between, where he's in some ways just like a talented amateur who ended up becoming a talented professional, but like is kind of still a sidelines guy.
Yeah. Have y'all seen the theory that Luthen might be an ex-Jedi?
I mean, I know people said that in the first season.
I hope not. I want Luthen just to be Luthen.
Yeah, agreed.
I think because that feels like a Star Wars plot and not a Tony Gilroy Andor plot. Yeah. I don't want it to happen. This show does not generally do fan service.
I'll also say the world building in these 3 episodes was amazing. The chandelier, is that what it is? Chandelier, where Mon Mothma lives? Chandelar.
Yeah.
Basically, that world building and all of like the different phrases they say, the kind of the world,
the ceremony of her daughter's marriage, and the like multi-day experience of it all.
I was just like, this is amazing. Like every detail was thought of.
Right.
From like even just like the set designing and the practical effects. They built that TIE fighter.
Oh yeah. And we will say that TIE fighter gets its use and you do by the 3rd episode
we get Stormtroopers.
Cassian does cut into them, and also what is easily the most shocking scene that they've done on this show as far as getting people talking, which is Star Wars depicted an attempted sexual assault.
It's true.
And it's very intense, but absolutely, I felt like fit the horrific, the abuses that fascists do.
Yeah. If you told me the 3rd episode ended in a sexual assault, killing, and a rave scene.
Oh, yeah. A rave scene with Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
No less.
So basically,
I've seen interpretations which I didn't think was my interpretation. People are saying that basically that like she's kind of lost at that point. She's like her husband's gone. She just had her best friend killed. Her daughter's lost her, and she's basically like throwing herself into the party.
Right.
I thought she was basically faking happiness and engagement so that no one will be suspicious that she had her friend killed.
Oh no, I viewed it a little bit of the first thing. She basically she felt everything was going out of control, and she just was like, okay, fuck it.
Right, we saw her drinking a ton.
She drank a bunch. She just started just letting loose.
Interesting. I thought of that as calculated. I didn't think of it as her like losing control.
I don't know. But we know she's screwed up.
Yep.
Before.
Yeah.
And she is not the perfectionist that
Right.
Luthen is.
Nobody's trained to be in a rebellion.
So I think this is her recognizing that she screwed up.
And just trying to drown
And
it.
she's just like, I need to not think for a minute.
Yeah.
Which I completely get.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. There was a catharsis, even as her story is kind of ending, well, sort of in tragedy, although, like, I don't know if anybody would be sad to see that guy go. The money launderer who was trying to extort them.
I wonder if we'll actually see the assassination or if that's just
I don't know if that's going to be
it could be a big thing. To be.
Yeah, they tend to be subtle on Andor.
They showed, Vel's girlfriend or the assassin essentially is the pilot. We know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen, yeah. I think so. I doubt they'll show it.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it has some key plot point to bring out. But yes, Cassian does, in fact, thank God, rescue Bix, and Bix also rescues herself.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's not shown to be like... she's tormented, and she's got
honestly,
PTSD.
she's gone through so much that it's horrible that she would have to deal with that. But again, these are the things that fascists do.
It's cathartic to watch her beat Imperial officer with a hammer. Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, yes, do it more.
I was kind of pleased that before he died, he basically got his brain scrambled.
But it does lead to a sad loss.
Oh man, we lost. In the way that Andor tends to do these things, is they do not do the massive emotional swells of music. The no, don't die on me. We lost Brasso from season 1. Easily the most stand-up guy and a hell of a fighter during the closing riot that ended season 1. He was the one who had the, what do they call it, the funeral brick or whatever for Andor's mom, and was just smashing Imperials over the head with it.
It's true.
So he bailed out Cassian any number of times in that first season, looked in on his mom. Man, he was a stand-up dude, and he just got shot in the back by some random troop.
Because some farmer gave him up. And was an asshole.
Yep. He, as we're learning in the real world, you do not bend for fascists, because it will never be enough. But yeah.
So, I think it was a great 3-episode opener.
It was. I would, like Randy, that first episode kind of threw me, and I will be honest and say that I was disappointed with it. Not that there weren't good moments, but that overall I was just like, there were some odd tonal choices, and I think that Gilroy's strengths do not lie in a little bit of humor.
Agreed.
But easily by the end of it, I was very on board. I'm crazy looking forward to what's going to happen tonight, because I never know what they're going to zero in on.
I assume we'll get K2 soon.
At some point, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
For people who don't know, that remember the big droid from Rogue One?
Yeah, the Imperial security droid, those long-armed, creepy ones that killed.
Which now we know that
in Jedi Order.
We know that was why when he went to prison, it was because he was caught by one of those. Yeah, so I would assume that he would probably innately despise them. I bet when we see it, that's going to come up.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I've shown that clip a few times.
Yeah.
Obviously we recommend it.
Looking forward to another one tonight.
Yep.
All right, that'll do it for us this week. We'll be back next week with more. Until that time,
Yo, Joe.
Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com, and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.